On a moonless Friday night, a power from the sky speaks to the people of the earth. In a Morgan Freeman voice, it declares a limit on how much humans can smoke and drink. 100 cigarettes and 25 bottles. That's all one can ever have for the rest of their lives. A puff more or a sip extra will result in an instant death by lightning strike. Cursed with this non-negotiable, we look at 4 stories of 4 people who love their Kingfishers and Marlboros and the choices they made. Or rather, the choices that made them. Remember, 100 cigarettes and 25 bottles. Anything more and God turns you to ashes. Obedient at school, compliant at the office. Once the topper of his class, now the perfect employee, he waits at signals on empty roads and files his taxes without looking for loopholes. When the government said to wear masks, he wore them. When told to wash hands, he washed them. When pricked with untested needles, he did not question them. Because Rishi has believed in institutions and institutions have believed in Rishi. Not an ounce of rebel in the man. So when the power from the sky announced the intoxication limit, Rishi did not question or investigate. His response was going to be one of complete abstinence, meaning he was not going to smoke or drink for the rest of his life. But why? Why not one beer? Just one. Anything less than 100 cigarettes and 25 bottles and you're safe. Why didn't Rishi care that he enjoyed his gold flake and the odd point of Carlsberg and that this joy was going to be taken away from him? He didn't care because of his habits. Yes, habits. Habits that train one to perform obedience like it's theatre. Habits that mold one to show unquestioning loyalty to power. Habits that were forged in a lifelong rat race ever since coming first started to mean something. There were no first prizes nor any Human of the Month awards for not taking a sip or a puff. And yet, in people like Rishi, there remains this unnatural desire to be the most compliant of all. A desperation to impress the empire. As I said, habits. So is Rishi a coward? Or is he the wisest of them all? He survives, is what he does. 0 cigarettes, 0 bottles. Rishi never wanted to challenge the status quo. Tears and alcohol, that's NEEL Ahuja, said the few who knew him. And by few, we don't mean a soulmate, a father, or a lifelong friend, but the regular mailman, the pretty neighbor, and the crippled homeless who watched him from the street as NEEL sat on his favorite balcony. NEEL was a loner. He had shifted to the city in the winter of last year. So his large past and source of immense melancholy remained a curiosity. One can only speculate, but maybe he loved men but couldn't express it. Maybe he wanted to become a fast bowler but lacked pace. Or maybe he had a mother who couldn't love. Your guess is as good as mine. The point I try to put forth is that NEEL's sorrows were deep. And in these deep sorrows, NEEL found solace in Bombay Sapphire. When there is nobody and nothing, there is the bottle. Little did Neil know, even that was going to be taken away from him. When the stipulations of the curse became clear to Neil, he knew he was going to play a battle he'd never win. The 26th bottle was a lingering inevitability. The irony is that Neil always knew it would be some nth bottle that would summon the Grim Reaper. He knew. It's just that now, God was hand-delivering it on a definite number. Neil was not even going to count. Not so many weeks later, sitting on his favorite balcony, Neil opened a bottle of Bombay Sapphire, not knowing, not caring that it was the 26th. He kissed it with his lips, gulped it down his throat, and in the very next moment, just as fate had promised, lightning turned him to ashes. Tears and alcohol. That's Neil Ahuja, said the few who knew him. 0 cigarettes, 26 bottles. Neil was not a smoker. Just like his father and his father before him, Arjun was to be a successful businessman. And like any successful businessman, Arjun played the numbers. Sure, he loved to skydive, scale mountains and surf on rising waves. And as exciting as all those things are, nothing turned Arjun more on than a risk and a gamble. 25 bottles and 100 cigarettes? Expect a business person to find a way. The first decision Arjun takes is to quit cigarettes. Because he starts smoking cigars. 1 cigar equals 20 cigarettes. And what is a cigar but a bigger cigarette? Leveraging the grey areas and vagueness of God's rules, Arjun 20-folds his limits on smoking tobacco. The next problem to solve is alcohol. Scotch and ice is exactly what Arjun likes, and 25 bottles is all he can have. So what does he do? Cry? Panic? Throw tantrums? No, he manages expectations. 25 bottles means 300 pours of 60 ml. That is 300 glasses that need to be carefully divided over a lifetime. So the maths he swears to live by goes like this. 50 glasses for when the big deals are closed, 50 for birthdays and anniversaries, 50 more for pain and sleepless nights, 100 for the Venices and Londons of the world, and the last 50 like a reserve for life's outliers. Four decades later, Arjun is still having scotches on ice and holding Cubans between his lips. At 80, with about half a bottle of scotch and 3/4 of a cigar still left, he decides it's time to go. Having lived a life for all it had to offer, he bids farewell to his loved ones, grabs the remaining scotch, lights the unfinished cigar, and reflects on the life he's lived. And when the equation comes down to the final pour of the 25th bottle, sleeping pills in quantities that kill humans are mixed along with ice. With 1 foot already in the afterlife, half-conscious Arjun looks up at the sky to laugh at the gods. After all, he played the game with the Almighty and won. You see, for people like Arjun, it is never about the drinks or the cigarettes. It is about never getting bent over, not losing power. No matter the morals or consequences, one has to be on top. That is their ultimate high. 100 cigars, 25 bottles. Arjun goes out on his own terms. Advaik smoked weed, man. Advaik smoked weed for the rest of his life. There is a box, and then there is Advaik. Outside of it, he refused to play with the Almighty and still won. 0 cigarettes, 0 bottles, but unholy amounts of weed.